Got all the cursing. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network. My name is Mark Old Ops Guy Halper, and along with me is laughing pun master Mike Rifkin, and below in the box, in the penalty box, our gracious president taking time out of his day to come to make sure his network is running smoothly and to get us live viewers. Let's face it, Mike and I couldn't do it. But before we get started into this fun day, like every husband, I have to do it. I am apologizing to my wife for the next 18 weeks, in which I will be intolerable, insufferable, a pain in the ass, a goddamn dick if they're losing, and very, very gracious guy who buys gifts for everybody when they're winning.
Go Browns.
So So to my lovely wife, Michelle, and my daughter, Charlotte, who teams up with my wife not to like football, here is my apology. You're not getting another one unless they're in the Super Bowl, in which then we all have the deal. Everybody in the house wears a jersey on that day. And now we're going to take it over with the guy, with the man with the plan, the man who runs these shows, Mike Rifkin.
Man, no retort to what Patchy said though, huh?
Now I'm trying to be good.
I'm now expecting an expletive rant text towards Patchy later this afternoon.
Little.
All right. Well, anyway, you don't have to worry about the Super Bowl because, well, the Cowboys got to win a playoff game first.
True.
So, but as Mark mentioned, it is week one. Now, I said to you before we went live, I have a bit of a trivia question for you.
Yes, you did.
All right. Anthony Richardson, quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts. He's the first Colts quarterback to start consecutive season openers. Who was the last Colts quarterback to start consecutive season openers?
No. I mean, you want to lean towards Andrew Luck, but I believe he was injured going into one of the seasons. I want to go further back to even far back as Peyton Manning. That's where I'm going to land. It could even be farther back than that. I mean,
It's not further back than Peyton Manning.
okay. I mean, I was trying to think even better. I'm going to go with Peyton.
Yeah, no, you should have went with your gut. It was Andrew Luck.
It was Luck. Okay.
In 2016. So 8 years. It's taken 8 years for the Colts to get a quarterback to start consecutive opening days or opening weeks, whatever you want to say it. So we'll see what happens with Anthony Richardson. As we know, he missed most of last year with a shoulder injury. So, but again, we're here, week one. We survived a long, dreadful, painful off season where certain owners said they were all in. We have players, new places. But the season kicked off with a bang Thursday night. Kansas City. Rematch of the AFC Championship game from a year ago. And the results remain the same as the Chiefs defeat the Ravens by a score of 27-20. Patrick Mahomes, 20-20, 291 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Isaiah Pacheco, 45 yards rushing and a touchdown. Rashee Rice, over 100 yards receiving. Rookie Xavier Worthy, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 receiving for the Chiefs. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 273 yards passing and a touchdown, and 122 yards rushing. Isaiah Likely, 9 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. But this game does not come without controversy. The last play of the game, Lamar Jackson hit Isaiah Likely for what we thought was a game-tying touchdown. And after review, Likely's toe was on the line like Kevin Durant in the playoffs a couple of years ago. And
Nice
the
reference.
Chiefs survive.
Here's the thing. We know what the Baltimore Ravens team is comprised of. I think they're one of the few teams that could take on the Kansas City Chiefs in a one-on-one matchup. As we saw, Baltimore and Kansas City were literally right around each other. I don't think anybody had a poor day for either team. I mean, I guess Mahomes throwing an interception, it was the biggest error of the whole game. The thing I'm surprised at is you get a guy like Derrick Henry, but you're still leaning on Lamar Jackson to rush it for over 100. Well, you're not relying on the 100 yards, but you're still relying on 16 carries from him. That's not what Henry is used to. Henry is used to 15 to 20 carries a game. And at least you can expect a touchdown out of him. Now, he did score, but he only had like 48 yards. And every fantasy owner who says they did not have Derrick Henry as their top running back they wanted, you're lying. Because we all thought it was going to go a different way. Now, Mike, I did say to you I said, is Lamar Jackson's rushing yards going to drop because of Henry? And obviously, that answer has just been answered. That question has just been answered.
Well, I'm going to say this. I don't think the question's completely answered because you got to remember, too, Lamar's rushes also count when the pocket breaks down and he just scoots. The problem is going to be this, and the Ravens were starting 3 new offensive linemen. That really struggled because the Chiefs have guys in Lamar's face all night long. But this is where Derrick Henry has to be more impactful. It can't be just 13 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. You got to be able to give Derrick Henry more, and just now. Part of this also was the Ravens were trailing most of the night, and
fair enough, but
you know, so they wanted to show Lamar's arm off. And at the end of the day, not a knock on Lamar, his arm is kind of what cost them the game. Because if you go back and watch that last drive, and specifically the last 3 plays, all 3 in the end zone. The first one where he hits Likely, but he's forced out by Brian Cook.
Right.
By the way, that's a great play by Brian Cook. Secondly, the one where Zay Flowers is wide open.
Oh, okay.
Now, Lamar said he was looking for Rashad Bateman. I'd have to watch the play over to see where Bateman actually is. But Zay Flowers, I mean, you couldn't be more wide open. And if Lamar hits him, it's a touchdown. And then the last one, the Likely, it's just out of bounds. Lamar Jackson could throw the football. No one's going to sit here and say he can't. But at the same time, you know what the Baltimore Ravens are. They're going to run the ball down your throat. They're going to be physical at the point of attack. And then everything off of Lamar comes off of the run game. And by the way, I know he was involved in a car accident and he didn't practice much. Why was Mark Andrews in the lineup if he was not going to be? He had one catch for 6 yards. I'm sorry, two catches for 14 yards, and he was only targeted 10 times. Or two times, rather. Two catches on two targets. Sorry, I was going over other statistics.
Look, that was one question on my mind. You have Mark Andrews, use him. It's going to open up your wide receivers. However, I want to go back to the stat line you pointed out for Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Who else does that stat line make you think of?
1346 to the touchdown.
Yes, sir.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards, or why don't we talk about old time? Ezekiel Elliott in New England. And let's talk about any other running back who is a third tier. Those are not numbers Henry is going to expect. And if Henry starts not getting what he's due,
I
that
think
I mean,
it'll
there's
change as the season goes
I
along.
would I would hope so because I don't think there is a more dominant running game than Lamar and him right now in football.
Yeah,
But we're yet to see the emergence. Yes, it's week one, but against an opponent like KC, I would have rather seen Derrick Henry run more than Lamar throw it 41 times.
right, because your game plan against Kansas City is very simple. As good as that defense is, and it's a good defense,
Yes, it is.
your game plan is I got to keep 15 off the field. And if I can keep 15 off the field, that means Lamar's doing it with his legs and Derrick Henry's doing it with
Right.
his legs. And that's going to be important for Baltimore all year long. But just to flip it just for a second to Kansas City, like we're talking about what the Ravens didn't do. Well, the Chiefs proved why they're the best team in football. Rashee Rice, I mentioned it, over 100 yards. I'm not even talking about how fast he was driving when he was drag racing. We don't know what if he gets suspended or not. Xavier Worthy, how about this guy? Thanks a lot, Buffalo. You gave Kansas City another weapon. A receiving touchdown and a rushing touchdown. You know who was a non-factor in this football game? Travis Kelce.
They'll see. Thank you.
Travis Kelce had 3 catches for 34 yards. What the Kansas City Chiefs just showed on opening night is one, they've got a ton of speed now at the receiver position. But two, and more importantly, they have weapons outside of Travis Kelce, which means now you may not be able to double Travis Kelce going forward. And the one play they loved, and then I'll let you go in a second,
Yeah,
was that little slant play over the middle to Rashee Rice. And it was all about the yards after catch.
absolutely. It's just a surprise where we're used to seeing if Patrick Mahomes has anywhere over 100 yards, Travis Kelce usually has about 70 to 80 of those yards. Now, Kelsey's going to get a little bit of a different take. Yeah, it's going to hurt fantasy owners a little bit because now you got a speedster. I don't know who's faster, Tyreek Hill or Xavier Worthy. That's not really a question. But Patrick Mahomes finally has that number one receiver that he was missing. That's going to lower Kelsey's targets, but come the red zone, there is nobody better or a better target than Travis Kelsey. So if you're worried about targets in the red zone, don't be. But if you're looking at targets over out, you can see what Rashee Rice did. You can see what Xavier Worthy can do. So expect Kelsey's numbers to be down a little this season.
And the other guy
And that
who I
means a lot less Taylor Swift, too.
nah, if she's in the building, go show her. As long as they don't break into Eminem like Mike Tirico tried to do, we're going to be okay. But the one other guy I do want to give a little bit of credit to, because I actually love the player, and he's making an impact in both the running game and the passing game. Isaiah Pacheco has turned from a seventh round pick, not into a superstar, but he's a stud. And I'm not just talking about the fact that he can run the ball, but it's the way he runs the ball. He reminds me a little bit, and I'm only doing the comp for a New York base. He's kind of like a smaller Brandon Jacobs,
Okay.
where he's big, he's physical, and he doesn't know when to stop. Like
Which
he'll
one
keep
was he? Was he Thunder or Lightning?
Jacobs was Thunder.
Thank you.
Jacobs was Thunder. Ahmad Bradshaw was Lightning.
Ahmad Bradshaw. Right.
Those legs are always churning. He's great in blitz pickup. He did that a couple of times on Thursday night. This team they're just loaded. They're reloaded. They might win 3 in a row.
It wouldn't surprise me. We see what Casey is built. However, we do know they're vulnerable a little bit. That Baltimore was able to keep up with them. So teams will look into what Baltimore did right and try to enhance it.
Well,
I don't care. You could put the Monstars on the other side, and Patrick Mahomes is going to get the ball in the end zone one way or the other.
let's not forget last year on opening night, the Chiefs lost to the Lions.
Yes.
And then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So I'm not gonna poo-poo the Raven effort, but I'm gonna sit here and say, remember where we were last year.
Yeah.
And that was a Kansas City Chief team that didn't have a number one receiver.
But hats off to the Ravens on a great game played.
Oh, yeah. By the way, John Harbaugh, I'm just letting you know now, pal. If Likely had scored and you would have went for 2, you would have lost the game. You have Justin Tucker. That's automatic overtime, baby.
Well, that's all what we thought Pete Carroll, too.
I mean, Pete Carroll. Listen, Pete Carroll's retired because he's still thinking about giving the ball to Marshawn at the 1.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You have an automatic. You use the automatic.
All right, so that was Thursday night. Then Friday night, for the first time ever, we had a game in Brazil. And it was nothing like the Simpsons Brazil episodes.
No, not at all.
The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Packers by a score of 34-29.
And I think we might have just lost Mike for a second as he head froze. So the Packers lost.
Jalen Hurts, 20-34, 278 yards. Yeah, there we go. So Jalen Hurts, 20-34, 278, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Saquon, 24 carries, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a receiving touchdown. A.J. Brown goes over 100 yards and a touchdown. The Packers, and we will dive more into the other spot in a second. Jordan Love, 17-34, 260, 2 touches and a pick. Jane Reed went over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 85 yards in his Packer debut. I want to, let's start with the Love thing. Jordan Love, late in this game, hurt his knee. They are calling it a sprained MCL. He's going to miss, I think they're saying 3 to 4 weeks at
3
minimum.
to 4 weeks is the window, is minimum, max 6.
So there's a 2-part question in here. And the biggest one is, where do the Packers go from here? They have Malik Willis. They have Sean Clifford, the big red dog from Penn State. Or they can try to go get a veteran.
Well, I think they're not going to worry about. Well, I think they're going to worry about getting somebody in there. I don't think they're going to worry about getting a veteran this week because I think they're going to let Malik Willis run this team. He's there. He knows the playbook. He'll get all the first reps for the week. So while the Packers are looking, I mean, I believe, Mike, you had pointed out good old Brian Tannehill is still available.
Yep.
And, there's teams that could trade. You know, there are teams that have multiple quarterbacks that could become attractive to a certain team. But for right now, I think Green Bay is going to run with Malik Willis and see until they know exactly how long he's really going to be out for, because you're not going to overpay and then he come back, he's going to sit.
So just to go over the Packers schedule really quick, they'll play the Colts next Sunday. Then they play the Tennessee Titans. And then they play the Vikings and go to LA for the Rams. Those are their next four. So if it's
They
that
could go 2-2.
if it's that 3 to 4 window for Love, that's what they're looking at. I saw what Malik Willis was in Tennessee. It wasn't great.
No.
Albeit the Titans weren't giving him the greatest avenue to work with. I would go to, I think there's two options. I think option one would be Ryan Tannehill, veteran quarterback, probably not going to cost you a ton in money. And Malik Willis is sitting there going, again, I'm going to get beat up by Ryan Tannehill. The other option would be, you said the T word. And this one's going to be weird. What about Jameis? That would be a guy. I don't know. There was reports out of Cleveland that Dorian Robinson-Thompson was going to be the number 2 behind Deshaun Watson. Jameis has had impact before when he backed up Drew Brees, when he backed up Derek Carr a year ago. That would be a guy, if I'm Green Bay, Jameis doesn't have to win you games. He just can't lose you games.
And something that unfortunately Jameson's well known for doing with
He has
picks.
interception waiting to happen.
Yeah, him and whatever the guy from Buffalo's was.
Nathan Peterman?
Yeah, Peterman. Basically, to me, I mean, if I'm Packers, I'm looking at both avenues. I'm looking trade, and I'm looking what's the best I can get for as little money, because we saw what happened with Joe Flacco in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they can find something to get them to 2-2 over the next 4 games.
I had another thought. You could try to see what Brett Favre is doing, and then whatever money you give back to the welfare of Mississippi. But that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, it's a tough break because Jordan Love played well in this game. The Packers' offensive line didn't play well in this game. But you could see what the Packers have. They have those young receivers. They bring in Josh Jacobs to replace Aaron Jones. There's no A.J. Dillon this year. He's out with that neck injury.
Right.
The Packers have this nice nucleus. And we talk about this a lot when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we will talk about the Steelers later. We talk about the keeping everything together under wraps and consistency, and if it's always the same thing, consistency. That's what I'm looking for. I think you can make the argument now for the Green Bay Packers with Matt LaFleur, whether it was Aaron Rodgers winning MVPs or now it's Jordan Love. The Green Bay Packers know what they are, but it's because of who their head coach is. If you catch my drift, Matt LaFleur has become, I want to say I don't want to say one of the more underappreciated coaches in the league, but I think he's a little underappreciated for the job he's done.
I don't disagree with you there. Look, I think Green Bay has a talented team.
Mhm.
Okay, I think they do. I'm a little, you look at the numbers for the huge pickup they got in Josh Jacobs, and you can't really be sour at it because you have to consider the field they were running on.
And Philly's front seven is good.
Right. So, I think Jacobs would have went for a little bit more, um, but you can't play the if game. You can't play the what if game. What if they were on whatever. This is not the end of Green Bay. This is going to be a pause, but it's a pause in a very competitive division, as we spoke about last week on the Sunday Sideline Report, which you can view if you go and check out the blog from that at www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, plus on our YouTube channel. But with Green Bay now loveless, what's the morale going to be like in that locker room? Because we've seen what happens when your quote unquote star goes down, your leader goes down. Who's going to fill that role?
Well, and here's the benefit of having such a young team. They don't know. They don't know any better. We thought they'd take a step back last year when Aaron Rodgers left. And they said, no, we're gonna progress, go forward, and we're gonna do what we gotta do. I trust Matt LaFleur. I trust the system. And even if they do take a small step back, you brought up the division. Entering the season, there's one team better than them in the division. That's the Detroit Lions. We don't know what the Bears are going to look like with Caleb Williams, and we don't know what the Vikings are going to look like with Sam Darnold. I do think both those teams will win today, but that's a whole nother conversation. I think the Packers are going to be fine, and I'd be overly cautious with Jordan Love, to be honest with you, for this reason. I just paid that young man a boatload of money.
Mm-hmm.
I got to think about my long term investment rather than the short term investment. And I think that's how the Packers have to operate. That's why I bring up Tannehill or Jameis. By the way, if the Packers want to roll with Malik Willis and he's not the answer, hey, maybe the Packers wind up with a top 15 pick and can add more to that young nucleus that they've got. I'm
Right.
not saying that will happen, but if you're a Packer fan, there really isn't a lose-lose scenario here. It's kind of win-win. Either you're really bad and you get a pick, or hey, Jordan Love's Jordan Love's not hurt as badly as we think, and he recovered quicker than we thought, and we guys still have a chance in the playoffs. Now we flip it to the other side. They won. Philly reminded me of that team that collapsed at the end of last year. They didn't play well on Friday night. Now,
Well, in
go ahead.
all fairness, is it the whole team that didn't play well, or was it Jalen Hurts who did not play well?
I didn't think the offensive line was that great, and
Okay.
I also didn't think the defense was all that great.
I think the defense. I think the defense reminds me more of last year than the offense. I mean, if you look at especially with Barkley in there, you have to take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But those two interceptions by Hurts were disappointing.
No, but these were the things that hampered them at the end of last year,
Yeah,
and
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 that,
and,
yeah,
and that's the thing that has me cause for concern because you're right, Jordan Love. Listen, Jordan, we talk often about Tua. And Tua's got Waddle, he's got Devontae Smith, and I'm sorry, he's got Tyreek Hill and Waddle. I'm trying to comp this to Hurts. And then Hurts they go get AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Then you add in Saquon. Well, by the way, the Eagles don't win that game without Saquon having the game he does.
Right.
You bring in a guy like Saquon Barkley to kind of ease the pressure off of Jalen Hurts. But if he is still making these mistakes that really hampered them at the end of last year, we're going to have to start having the conversation about Jalen Hurts and what he really is. Now, the bright side for the Eagles, they won this game. The other bright side to the Eagles, they play in the NFC East. And they'll probably go 3-1 against the Giants and the Commanders. And your only worry is the Cowboys. But after that, Philly could probably sneak into a wild card spot if they don't win the division. Same thing with the Cowboys.
Right.
But Jalen Hurts, if they want to get back to the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts has to go back to the guy that was an MVP candidate 2 years ago and for the first 6-7 weeks of last year. If he's the turnover machine he was at the end of last year, they're going to have problems. So the Eagles are. Oh, go ahead.
No.
So the Eagles and Chiefs 1-0, Ravens, Packers 0-1. We'll dive into some of today's action. We're going to start with the game in Cincinnati, where Gerard Mayo makes his head coaching debut for the New England Patriots as they go in to Cincy to play the Bengals. Now, who's going to be playing for the Bengals? We don't know. T. Higgins is listed as doubtful with a hamstring, and Jamar Chase is questionable with an illness. What is that illness, you ask? Easy. I haven't signed a contractitis, and it's going around the league. And Jamar Chase said he and the Bengals were close on Friday. That was kind of the deadline he gave as well on signing a new deal. Nothing's been reported. We are still waiting to find out if he's actually going to play today or not. I am thinking he is playing. That's my mindset because of what Joe Burrow said the other day. But, Mark, we saw this with the Bengals last year, too. There was a reluctance to pay T. Higgins. Now, I know Jamar Chase has technically 2 years left on his contract.
Yes.
But why not just pay him now and get it over with? He can't come back to you in another year and say, oh, this guy makes more than me. You're hurting yourself by doing this if you're the Bengals.
When you look at what this game means, I don't think you have much to worry about. I think Mike is right. I think Chase is going to start. I think Chase is going to go off for a huge day on the Belichick-less New England Patriots. And then that contract going to be done. As quoted by ESPN, Jamar Chase, I want to beat Justin Jefferson's contract by a lot more than a penny. I have no doubt in my mind that Jamar Chase is a superstar wide receiver. No doubt in my mind that Justin Jefferson is the same thing. CeeDee Lamb. We could go on and pick out wide receivers. Why do you deserve to be paid more than Justin Jefferson? What have you done? Have you won a Super Bowl? You won a couple of playoff games. You won a couple of playoff games. We'll give you that. But I'm sorry. I hate the fact when people use envy as a way, oh, I'm envious of how much he makes. And look, we see it all over the league. We see it in Dallas, we see it in Miami, we see it in New York, we see it in California, whatever. Chase will get paid. There's no doubt in my mind. And it'll be over with now that T. Higgins is possibly out the first 2 games of the season now. So Chase plays and has a monster day. Contract is done. I say 153 touchdowns for Jamar Chase.
I'll take that for fantasy purposes. Here's the thing to go back on what you said. Every freaking guy wants to be the highest paid player at position X. Why that matters, I don't know. I don't know why Jamar Chase has to make whatever it is over Justin Jefferson. I do know they were college teammates, so maybe that's Jamar Chase's way of rubbing it in and saying, hey, I make more of you. Nah, 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 nah. Here's the problem. There's a salary cap.
Yeah.
So teams can't just invest all of their money into one or two guys. It's not how it works. Now, I hate bringing him up because it's the first time in a long time, although we'll see him later today. Tom Brady always kicked back money to Robert Kraft so the Patriots could have the best team. Now, Brady also made back that money in endorsements and other stuff, probably. So I've never understood why guys have to be the highest paid at a position because we know how this goes. Jamar Chase gets paid whenever. The next guy up is going to be the highest paid. And we go so on and so on and so on and so on. But I'm going to take you to a situation you know very well for a second. Remember a couple of years ago, I'm not going to specify the year because I don't remember. Dallas Cowboys, similar situation. They had to pay Dak Prescott and they had to pay Zeke. But Zeke, because they had already operated the fifth-year option, had 2 years left. And Zeke said, I'm going to Cabo. And I was imperative of Jerry Jones. I said, don't pay him. Let him hang out in Cabo. He's under contract. Jerry caved, paid him. Jamar Chase is in a similar spot. He's got 2 years left. This year in the fifth-year option. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, though, you're in a different position than the Dallas Cowboys. Because your window to win doesn't last as long as a team like the Dallas Cowboys because Dallas Cowboys are willing to go out and spend money. The Bengals are not very aggressive in free agency. You have to pay Jamar Chase. You have to do it. Now, I don't care if he asks to be the new mascot of the Reds. I don't care. Excuse me. You do whatever it takes. But from the business standpoint, which I understand, he's already under contract. But if you play games with these players, these guys talk all the time. They're not going to want to stay, and they're not going to want to go play for you. So you have to go through the things the Bengals have had to go through with drafting and developing and having to wait so long to become relevant again. You got part A of this. Joe Burrow's locked up. You now have to do it with Jamar Chase. You have to. This can't be a black cloud lingering over Cincinnati.
Correct.
So we'll see what happens with Chase. Higgins is ruled as doubtful. We'll let you know what happens if we get any news on that before we break today. All right. Again, we're going to jump around. We're going to try to hit every game this week. The other big news comes out of Atlanta. Well, it's really out of Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's in Atlanta, so digress. Russell Wilson mispracticed on Friday with a calf issue. Same calf issue that bothered him throughout training camp. And reports are saying Justin Fields is going to start today. That has not been confirmed. We do not know what is going on. Mark, if Justin Fields starts, what's the expectation?
Well, I think this is game one all over for Justin Fields. This is his time to win literally the starting spot, because if he goes out there and he performs, I'm talking like the Justin Fields of last year, where he was throwing for 280 and a couple of touchdowns and ran the ball for 50 yards and a touchdown. As long as he can do that weekly, it's his spot to lose. He goes out there and throws 3 or 4 picks or fumbles a few times or just has a poor day and Wilson feels better the following week. Wilson's going to go in and then it's up for grabs again. So I think it's very advantageous for Justin Fields to be cautious a little bit out there. But yeah, you got to take some risk. So he needs to be meticulous on what he does.
Here's the thing. I don't think it matters what Justin Fields does today. I don't think it matters for this reason. This job was always meant for Russell Wilson. That is why Mike Tomlin consistently kept saying to people, Russ is in the pole position. Russ is in the pole position. Russ is the leader. This job wasn't going to be Justin Fields unless Justin Fields has a day where he throws for 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he adds a couple on the ground. If Russell
Against Atlanta, that's possible.
If Russell Wilson's healthy, this is Russell Wilson's job, which goes back to my point from the offseason. And I wrote this for the network. You can check it out, sportsinsanitynetwork.com. There was no reason for the Steelers to grab both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields because they show you 2 different things. Russell Wilson is a sign you want to win now. Russell Wilson is not your quarterback in 3 or 4 years, right or wrong.
Right.
Justin Fields, that could be your future. But you can't pay him off of being a package quarterback if Russell Wilson plays.
Exactly.
So, why did the Pittsburgh Steelers grab both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields? Justin Fields is not an insurance policy for Russell Wilson. It's to save face for Mike Tomlin. Because Mike Tomlin, and I say this with all due respect, the man has never had a losing season. But that being said, can he not handle a losing season if they had just said, you know what, Justin Fields, let's see what you are, because you could be our franchise guy for the next 8-9 years.
You know, you're looking at the team that Pittsburgh goes up against today, and that's the unknown Atlanta Falcons. We don't know what they're going to look like because they're a whole revamped team. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a hell of a day, but that's neither here nor there. If Mike's answer is right, is that Tomlin's ego, not to have a losing season, is what's driving him right now. But here's also an interesting factor. Let's say we're getting close to the trade deadline. You have Russell Wilson, obviously not on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, Wilson's on 1 year.
I mean, obviously also on a 1-year deal. If you're the Browns and you're in playoff contention and there's somebody hot in need of a quarterback, and let's just say you have Justin Fields right there and they want Fields and you're in a position, will he move Fields to make that team even more better?
Here's the problem with Fields. And this is where I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for Justin Fields for this reason. In Chicago, he had a coach that really, I don't know if it didn't believe in him or whatnot with Eberflus. But the Steelers would not be the team I'd want to be at right now because they did sign Russell Wilson. So I'm not going to get that full opportunity to play. The perfect spot for Russell Wilson, for Justin Fields was going to be a spot where he could play all year. Not have to look over his shoulder, not to worry about things. Now he's in a spot where he has to worry about, hey, if I don't play well, they're going to turn to Ross. It's not the best place for him. Now to flip it to Atlanta, like you mentioned, hey, they went through this last year. They realized Desmond Ridder wasn't good enough. So they went out and they spent on one of the greatest quarterbacks of this generation, Kirk Cousins. But think about it like this, Mark. You can make all the hand gestures you want. Kirk Cousins goes to the NFC South. He's immediately the best quarterback in the division.
Yes, look, as much as Mike knows my hatred for Kirk Cousins, I do agree with, especially with the teams in the NFC South. I mean, I guess you can put him and Baker up close together, considering what Baker did last year. That's all I'm saying. I'm basing it on what Baker did last year. So
Listen,
I mean,
listen. By the way, great for Baker. Baker got paid by the Bucs. He's got another home, first time, really since Cleveland, he's been in the same place back-to-back years. But just to go to Kirk Cousins one more time, he's got Drake London, he's got Kyle Pitts, who, by the way, needs a big year this year. We are still waiting for the Kyle Pitts breakout year, and now that Artie Smith is no longer there. By the way, oh man, today could be a Kyle Pitts revenge game. I didn't even think about that.
Revenge. Oh,
Arthur Smith is the
yeah,
OC in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
So that's a game early on. We got some interesting 1:00 games. We got the Battle of Florida, Dolphins, Jags.
That's going to be a fun football game, even though Mike is the Miami fan of the group. I mean, this is a good test for this Miami offense. I expect Tua to come out firing, but I want to see more from the running game. I want to see more Davon Achane. I want to see them use Mozart. I want them to use Waddle, but I want to see nothing more than Tyreek Hill take off, have a baby, and then catch the ball and score. That's what I want to see. I want to see how electric this offense can be.
And I'm going to go the other side of the ball. I'm intrigued by the defense. No Bradley Chubb. Remember, it's a new defensive coordinator. Anthony Weaver comes over from the Baltimore Ravens.
Great signing too. Great.
I believe Jalen Phillips is going to be a go today after coming off the torn Achilles a year ago. And I'm also intrigued on the defensive side because I'm very curious about the Jags. They choked at the end of last year. They collapsed that division to the Houston Texans very quickly. Give the Texans credit for what they did, but the Jags choked. And now the pressure's on Trevor Lawrence, who got – listen, we talk about Tua getting the bag. Trevor Lawrence got the bag. Doug Peterson got the bag. So you're going to have to see what they look like, too, down there in Jacksonville. So that's a fun game.
Is Jalen Ramsey going to play?
I believe he's a GTD. I think he's a game-time decision. I'll say this. I think Jalen Ramsey wants to play for this reason. Never forget, he was drafted 5th overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there's that as well. Speaking of the Texans, they play the Colts in an AFC South matchup. Remember, that was the Week 18 game where the winner won the division and the loser went home. And CJ
And
Stroud outplayed Gardner Minshew in that game. Now it's
and
Anthony
now they're
Richardson.
Minchewless.
Minshew Mania is still going strong, though. He's going to start for the Raiders. We'll get there, too. But
Yep.
year two of CJ Stroud, and all the Texans did this offseason was add Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon offensively.
Two very vital pieces that were needed. Not to take anything away from Tank Dell and Nico Collins for what they did last year, but they didn't have a solid number two receiver. Now, Nico Collins is technically the two, where Stefan's the one, and now you got Tank Dell at the three. You now have Joe Mixon lined up right behind CJ Stroud. This rivals a few offenses that I can think of, but this is one of the youngest, more hungrier offenses in the NFL.
And listen, if CJ Stroud plays like he did a year ago, he's going to be in the MVP conversation.
Absolutely. I don't know what Indianapolis is gonna be. We know you have Jonathan Taylor. I didn't like the resigning of the receiver, but that's just me. I understand loyalty. I understand cohesiveness, but I don't know about that Indianapolis defense. I don't know if it's going to be able to keep up because I think the Houston defense is just that good that the Indianapolis defense is going to be on the field a lot more than it needs to be.
Well, listen, I like Michael Pittman. I think he's a good receiver.
Thank you. Couldn't think of his name.
I think this is going to be my problem, though, with Indy, and it's been my problem with them really kind of since Peyton left. They don't have a number one receiver. Like Pittman is a good receiver. To call him a one to me is a stretch.
No.
I've waited for 3-4 years. I said, you got the money, you got draft capital, either spend it on a receiver or go get a big time receiver. They haven't done it. And this is the problem. Just look at the team you're playing against. Yes, the Texans have Tank Dell and Nico Collins both drafted. But guess what? They have a quarterback on a rookie contract. So they said, oh, all it's going to take is a third round pick to get Stephon Diggs. We're going to do that for sure. Why couldn't Indy have done that?
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that. But that's the thing. I think Indy last year outperformed expectations. Now that Anthony Richardson's healthy, we're going to have to see what it looks like. So, but I'm very curious on this one but Houston, listen, they're part of the AFC elite right now entering the year.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll have to wait and see on that one. So Houston, Indy, Doug Jacksonville, Miami. Just to finish off the AFC South, the Titans go to the Bears today. Caleb Williams debut.
Versus Levi Levis. Will Levis. Will Levis.
Will Levis and his Levi.
I was calling him Levi, yeah. Trying to throw a nickname.
Listen, the Titans have a ton of weapons, so it's going to be on Will Levis to have a good year to see if he's the quote-unquote franchise quarterback.
Here's the thing. How many first-round quarterbacks has Tennessee drafted over the last few years? A couple. Kind of reminds me of the Browns. Every year was another, you had Couch, you had this, you had that. Let's not just keep drafting quarterbacks. Get a guy, stick with them, and work it out.
Well, here's the thing. They got Traylon Burks. They got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Calvin Ridley. And they brought in Tyler Boyd. So you got four receivers, although listen, Burks has to play well, though he's not going to get a real opportunity being the fourth guy there,
And
unless
now they have the
Hopkins isn't
running game
playing.
with Tony Pollard.
And they brought in Tony Pollard. Pressure's on Will Levis. And on the other side, you could talk about the same thing with Caleb Williams. Number one pick, a lot of expectations. But more importantly than that, yeah, they got DJ Moore. But then they bring in Keenan Allen and they draft Roma Dunzier.
Which we all said after the third pick, that's where he was going to go. We all called that, especially easily too. Caleb Williams has been given everything he needs to run an offense. He's got a quality running back who's not only just good out of the backfield, is pretty decent. I'm not going to say great or phenomenal, is decent receiving in DeAndre Swift. You got two of, not just two, you got three good receivers. Keenan Allen, we all know, Chargers. You draft Roma Dunzier, and you got DJ freaking Moore. You got three possible number ones on this team, in my opinion, right now. And Williams will get a rapport with one of them, and that's how they will fall into the number one spot. But I feel this game is going to be a flat out shootout. It's going to be a defensive with game. There's going to be a very high scoring one. So I am advising to take the over on this one, but do not blame me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, this could be a very entertaining game. But, two young quarterbacks who have to show what they've got. So, yeah, we got that one going. Another one in kind of an interconference showdown. We got your guy Kyler Murray and the Cardinals going to Buffalo to play the Bills. Listen, I think for people who just say because they don't have Stephon Diggs, think of the Bills' offense is going to take a step back. Man, to quote the great Wade Barrett, boy, do I have some bad news for you. I think the Bills are going to be fine. I really do. I think this is I don't know if they'll get to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say that. But I'm not discounting them just because they lost Stephon Diggs.
It's not just Stephon Diggs. It's also
no, I'm
Gabe
talking
Davis.
Specifically the offense.
Oh, well, they also lost Gabe Davis. So, Josh
Gabe
Allen.
Davis only played well against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Outside of that, he was not.
But still,
great.
there's no, besides Dalton Kincaid, it's a new wide receiver set for Josh Allen. And we know Josh Allen can go in rhythm with Stephon Diggs like any other top quarterback in the league. It's a start over for this team.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dalton Schultz is going to be the main target as he is really had a fantastic rookie year. He's going to have it even better this year. I don't think you're going to see a lot from Buffalo, and I'm sorry if Nate Moser is one of the few people who are watching us right now. Nate, I'm sorry for doing this to you. But I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to run all over the field today. I think Kyle Murray is going to for 400 yards, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have 225 of them, and 3 of them are going to be touchdowns. I think this is going to be a Randy Moss, Dallas Cowboy opening type day.
Wow. I'm very curious.
Sorry, Nate, had to do it.
I'm very curious on the Cardinals. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I think they're one of those teams that's kind of, I don't think they're terrible, but I want to see the improvement. And you're right, because Marvin Harrison, I think, is going to be huge for Kyler. I'm more worried about the protection for Kyler.
And that I think they adjust pretty decently in the offseason. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about another rookie, though, that they got. Trey Benson, Florida State running back. Him and James Conner. Ooh, that could be a lethal running back duo.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got that. I think the last of the 1 o'clock games. Let me
Biggest
just
joke
go
in
to the.
football.
We got the Giants and the Vikings in
As I said, the biggest joke in football.
Sam Darnold against Daniel Jones in the battle of the greatest MetLife Stadium quarterback of all time. Listen,
He's not wrong.
Giant fans, I'm going to say this nicely to you. Two things. This is the start of the final season of Daniel Jones. But I want to put this but. I don't think Brian Dable or Joe Shane should be on anywhere close to a hot seat. Here's the reason why. 2 years ago, when they got there, the Giants were more of a mess than something really messy. I was going to say something. I'm not going to go there. They made the playoffs to the shock of everyone in the world, including the New York Giants. Now, Mark will tell you this. I will tell you this. License plate guy will tell you this. The New York Giants are not the most talented team of football. They weren't 2 years ago. They're not now. So they surprised people winning 10 or 11 games, whatever it was. They beat the Vikings in the playoffs, and then Philly routed them. Last year, they won 6 games, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did they win 6 games? Well, one, they didn't have a quarterback because Daniel Jones got hurt, and even though when he was playing, he wasn't any good. But because 6 games should have been the expectation. Because they weren't good enough to win 11 games back-to-back years. They caught people by surprise. They won a crap ton of one-possession games 2 years ago. That never carries over. Let Joe Shane and Brian Dable do their thing, because I don't think the Giants, and I'm going to say this as nicely as I can because I know I got a Giant hater in them.
Very big one.
I don't think the Giants are that far away, especially after the offseason they had where they added Brian Burns to the pass rush.
Yes.
They added my neighbor Malik to the receiving room. I don't love Devin Singletary, but at least he knows the offensive system that you're adding to. And I don't think the Giant offensive line is going to be as offensive to watch as it's been in years. So now the pressure comes. Can Daniel Jones do the job or not? And if he can't do the job, the Giants have an out in the contract after this year. The question then becomes, who's the Giant quarterback in 2025? We're not playing wheel of who the Giants quarterback could be.
Could be some guy named Sanders.
No, not after his game last night. Oh,
well, after he walked off the field with a few minutes before. Sorry, a little disrespectful.
I mean,
that's a talk for another time.
I mean, yeah, Quinn Ewers, give me Carson Beck over Shedeur Sanders. That's a whole nother conversation. This is on Daniel Jones now. It's sink or swim. And if he sinks, that's it. If he swims, then we have to have a different conversation. Other side of the ball, Sam Darnold wasn't supposed to be the Viking quarterback. That was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy. Well, he got hurt. And now Sam Darnold returns to the place where he saw ghosts.
I like Sam Darnold when he was drafted by the Jets. I don't think the Jets ever really did anything to help him along to make him a
They gave
better
him Adam
quarterback.
Gase, buggy eye.
Uh-huh. Then he had that great start in Carolina, and then injuries and interceptions kind of ruined that. Went over to San Francisco and maybe gained a little bit of experience, which he needed. Like Mike said, went to Minnesota with the fact that he knew they were going to be drafting quarterback, just didn't know who. Now it's Sam Darnold, the starter. But here's the kicker: Sam Darnold has something he's never had. It's called an offense. He's got Aaron Jones right behind him as the running back. You got two of the best wide receivers in football, in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. The defense is solid. I think this Viking team is going to be there come wild card time. I do not think they're going to be able to surpass the Lions. That's another time. But Daniel Jones is not the answer. I would like to see Malik Neighbors maybe get, a nice play action bomb for a touchdown in his rookie debut. Would like to see that, but you can't tell me anything. Mike, go ahead.
Adam Schefter, 4 minutes ago. Now official. The Bengals and receiver Jamar Chase are not expected to reach a contract extension before today's opener. Per sources, it remains unclear if Chase will play today. Actives, inactives in about half hour. But it should be noted Chase was on the field for pregame warm-up.
Right.
So we'll wait to
Right.
see what's going on
Just
there.
because they did not come to a deal before today's game doesn't mean they're not very, very close. And
Which is
they're
something Chase said Friday. They were close. So
right.
how you get to close to not getting it done? I don't
I'm
know.
sorry. If I'm preparing for a game, the last thing I want to do is sit and be hatching out little bits of my contract. Go out there, play. You got a week to figure it out.
But by the way, this is what you have an agent for.
And well, that's the other point. Please don't tell me Scott Boras is his agent. God.
Wait, what was that?
I said, please don't tell me Scott Boras is his agent.
Hold on,
Well,
I will Google.
wouldn't that be a joke? The guy who blew three MLB contracts.
So let's see, Jamar Chase.
Okay, this just from Ian Rappaport. Keenan Allen and Montez Sweat will both play today for Chicago.
That's huge for the Bears.
Yep.
Let's see.
As you can see, Mike and I are keeping you up to date with the current and the non-current.
I'm just double checking this. Let's see.
I think it would be
His
funny.
agents. Oh, he's represented by Alliance Sports.
Oh,
So no, not Drew Rosenhaus or in your case,
Scott
Mr.
Boras.
Boris. So there's that. We'll probably try to keep you up on the active inactive list. That way we could let you know about Jamar Chase. Other games we got going. How about this one? Raiders Chargers. The return of Jim Harbaugh. Good thing after yesterday, Michigan got romped by Texas.
Mm.
And Gardner Minshew's playing at quarterback for the Vegas Raiders.
Again, not look. I like Gardner Minshew. I'm not going to say he's not a good quarterback, but he's not a number one. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people will disagree with me. He's not a number one. That being said, he can win the number one job by having a good year and not have to worry about it because we've seen the Raiders go through a lot of quarterbacks over the last couple of years. So then flip it to the Chargers. They're Eckerless. So what are they going to do? How are they going to replace it? How do they replace Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? Josh Palmer is questionable still as for today. I don't know what's going to be of this Chargers offense because I don't really know much about it yet until it plays. And that doesn't happen until 4 o'clock.
Well, who's catching passes from Herbert?
That's
Like that's gonna be the like Palmer. We know DJ
well,
Chark,
we have Quentin Johnson, the rookie from last year.
but he was
Not
dropping
good either.
passes left and right last year.
Right.
DJ Chark was put on IR.
Right.
He's going to miss some time. This is a massive question here for the Chargers. And we know, listen, we know Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball. That's why they brought in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, both from Baltimore, ironically. But you need some form of weaponry for Justin Herbert. Mike Williams is now a Jet. Keenan Allen's now a Bear. Antonio Gates is retired.
Oh, my.
If Quentin Johnston continues to struggle, what are we doing? Like, we talk about the elite quarterbacks in the AFC. Joe Burrow's got Chase and Higgins, at least for this year. Josh Allen, he's got a Kincaid. He's got, guys. Tua's got guys. Trevor Lawrence has a guy. CJ Stroud's got guys. Mahomes now
You're
has
starting
guys.
to sound like this is like a mafia organization. He's got
No,
guys. This guy's got Joey Bats, and this guy's got Jimmy.
But they've got guys. Justin Herbert's got nobody. Justin Herbert might want to throw the ball to himself to try to run with it. Like he's playing by himself in the backyard.
Why not?
Like that's going to be the ultimate question mark. They also don't have Austin Eckler, who is also a big part of their passing game.
And I'm going to be fair. I don't know who they brought in behind. The only running back that I remember that is actually behind was Isaiah Spiller. And I don't even know if he's there anymore. That's to show you how much I've been following up on the Chargers.
They brought in J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Right. So
okay, that's right. So Spiller's gone.
Look across the field at the Raiders for a second. They got Jacoby Myers from Jacoby and Jacoby Law Firm.
We know they're good.
They got Trey Tucker, who's a young kid out of Cincinnati. They got Brock Bowers, rookie from Georgia. Michael Mayer, second-year tight end out of Notre Dame. Oh, by the way, they got this guy named Devontae Adams, and the last time I checked, he's still really freaking good.
There's a lot of controversy hanging around Devontae Adams right now. We'll see how he does today.
Yeah, controversy stirred because one person brought his name up.
Only one.
Only one. And that person can go see the pyramids in Egypt, if I'm being honest.
True that.
So you got Chargers, Raiders. We got Broncos, Seahawks in an old-fashioned Super Bowl rematch. Bo Nix is starting for the Broncos today. Bo knows.
Let me tell you. I was watching Jerry Maguire yesterday, because that's one of the movies I watched getting ready for football time. Why? Because Tom Cruise talks about Troy Aikman in the movie. So, that's a prime reason why I got to watch it. I don't know what to really say is going to happen in Denver and Seattle. I think it's going to be a monster day for DK Metcalf. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have a great day. Did I land it finally right?
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
It only took a year. I got it right. And let's not forget, like Mike likes to, let's not forget, he got Tyler. He catches the ball and locks it in. The question is, can Geno Smith come out like he did? Not like last year. His first year where he earned that contract extension and didn't gouge them on the money. Come out like he did 2 years ago. And hey, having Kenneth Walker on your side, I'm sorry, Kenneth Walker the third, right next to you, makes this Seattle offense good. I'm just not sure about the defense.
And that's where we're going to differ because I believe in Mike McDonald, who's a defensive guy coming over from Baltimore. The assignment is this: rookie quarterback on the road in Seattle. I
Two
don't
serious
like.
places to play: Seattle, Philadelphia.
Listen, Bo Nix is a little bit used to it because he played at Oregon last year. They played on the road at Washington, and what was
Right.
the best game of the year for college football? Don't believe me? Go watch it. But it's not the noise level of Seattle, and this isn't preseason. You brought up DK Metcalf. I'm pretty sure Denver's going to lock him up with Patrick Surtain, who just got a big deal.
Yeah.
So
I
it
would
now comes
you would
down.
think that would be the smart move, yes.
Then you look at the other two guys, JSN and Lockett, how they match up against whatever Denver's going to throw at them. But I also think for Seattle to be successful all year, Kenneth Walker has to have a big year because listen, Gino was great 2 years ago. He struggled a little bit last year. For Seattle to be really good, they have to be balanced. Gino's not the guy who could throw the ball 40, 44 times a game. If you can balance that out with the running game, I think the Seahawks are a fringe playoff team.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. I just got to see what comes out of the defense. I'm confident in the offense. I like that Mike and I are on different sides of the ball on this.
I mean, yeah. So how about this? We missed 1 o'clock game, and then we'll cover the other 4 o'clocks. Panthers Saints.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a game. I'll say this. If the Saints stink this year, blow it up. Kamara, Dennis Allen, Cam Jordan potentially. Restart that thing in New Orleans.
I mean, they have Olave for another 2 years, so they don't have to worry about replacing him. But I agree with you.
Yeah, like that team is just, they thought they could do whatever it was after Sean Payton left. They missed the boat. So they're going to have to figure it out. Carolina, it's year 2 of Bryce Young. We're going to have to see what it is with him and Dave Canales, who they brought in from Tampa Bay. All right. The game Mark's most looking forward to today. You got a weird look on your face.
I know, but I don't know how weird this is. Tyreek Hill, prior to the game, has been arrested for a driving violation, but his agent says he will play. This just broke on Sunday NFL Countdown just now.
Yeah, this has been going around the internet. So
sorry that I was kind of frozen there. I just wanted to make sure this was a real
so
thing
this is
before I
from
spoke.
let me find it's Jeff Darlington of ESPN who had the big report. So I'm just gonna grab it here on Twitter for a second. Okay. I'm told by sources Tyreek Hill was cited for reckless driving as a result of his incident outside the stadium with police. After he was pulled over, he got into a verbal altercation with police. The officer chose to place Hill in handcuffs. He was cited and released after the situation was de-escalated. So it was just a citation, and then he and the cop got into it. Part of the de-escalation apparently was Calais Campbell came over to try to ease isn't this what your guy Scotty Scheffler.
I was waiting for you to end. I'm like, from golf to football, really? Scotty Scheffler doesn't watch a guy who's saying, please stop, please stop, please stop. But we don't know how true that is because that guy wasn't wearing a body camera. If you looked at the image I was watching, there were 9 different body camera shots on Tyreek Hill, and he was not happy.
Yeah, like this is just so whatever happened, we don't know, but
We don't know exactly, but I just wanted to, before I said anything, I didn't want
but
to say this and then it get, oh no, this is just fake news. Yeah.
well, he is expected to play.
Yes.
So his agent said that, and the Dolphins as well. How about this from Mike Garafolo? Order of Steeler quarterback reps and warm-ups in Atlanta. Justin Fields took first team reps. Second team reps were taken by Kyle Allen. Russell Wilson was third. Again, inactives are due in a couple of minutes. We will keep going. Oh, hold on. We got more breaking news from Adam Schefter.
I haven't gotten it yet. I'll get it in about 30 seconds. So go ahead.
A deadline deal. Hours before kickoff, the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott are in agreement on a 4-year contract.
There it is.
Worth $240 million. That'll make him the highest paid player in NFL and keep him in NFL history and keep him in a Cowboy uniform for seasons to come.
What's the guarantee?
Sources. So Schefter could be wrong on that, but it looks like
Dak's got a deal. Sorry, if Adam Schefter posted that, that's huge. Now, Dallas fans can relax a little bit because, I don't know what the guarantee is going to be. It's going to be big. And then Dak's numbers, you're going to have to look at dead money years. But Dak's numbers are going to cost less and they're going to be able to revamp this team.
Okay, so Ian Rappaport's $240 million, $231 million guaranteed.
What's he going to do? Count $9 million against the book?
No.
No.
The other $9 million comes from incentives and stuff.
Yeah, no. I was just wondering.
So hold on. I'm gonna do math with phone calculator for a minute.
This is great news for the Cowboys.
This equals out to what he wanted. He's the $60 million man.
$60 million, right? He's now top tippity dog. Okay, fine. You got the contract. Go out, take the football, and ram it down the Browns' throat. Let's go.
I give Dak a ton of credit for this. There's one person I'm not going to give credit to.
And here it is. I just got it.
I am not giving credit to Jerry Jones. I don't care what happens for the Cowboys season. I am not giving credit to Jerry Jones on this because this should never have been an issue from the start.
Correct.
The way Dak Prescott has played. So good on Dak on getting the bag.
Now they're going to have the money to get Micah next year. That was the problem. They wanted to sign CD and Micah this year, sign Micah to the extension. But Dak wasn't resolved.
But here's going to be my question to you. Because you're the Cowboy fan, and I love the fact that we can break news on this.
The other Cowboy fan is currently monitoring a low-pressure system in the Gulf.
No. I'm not trying to be mean or facetious here. Man, I'm using a big word.
I was about to say, Mike, that's a big word.
And it is. If the Cowboys falter, because we've said it, the goal for the Dallas Cowboys, we know, is for Mike McCarthy to stay. For Mike McCarthy to stay, it's the NFC title game.
Correct.
If they don't reach that destination, we've heard Jerry in the past criticize Dak after a season. He can no longer do that because he just gave him the bag.
Correct.
So we know what's going to happen if the Cowboys don't reach their destination. Mike McCarthy, you're going to get Das Boot,
Yeah.
which means the Cowboys are going to have a coach opening, and
And
there's
yeah,
only
it's a
two,
possibility.
and there's two possibilities in my mind.
I have one.
I've got the
And I don't
other.
think I don't think it can happen, but I have one.
You say yours, and then I'll give you the other one because I think we're on the same page with one.
When you look at what happened last year, somebody retired. The second most winning coach of all time, probably the greatest coach, one of the greatest coaches ever to stand on a field. And that's Bill Belichick. Belichick has said he wants to return to coaching. If McCarthy is out, let's say by week 4, week 5, let's say Dallas is 2-3, McCarthy's done. Schottenheimer's son will take over, and then Bill Belichick is going to come in there. And with Bill Belichick and Mike Zimmer, that's a winning coach. Look, I was happy years ago when they got Mike McCarthy because I liked what he did in Green Bay. He's been caca here in Dallas. Get to the championship game, and then figure out the pieces you need.
All right, so you're going Belichick, and
Yes,
I think Belichick's going to have his choice of jobs because I think
right.
there's going to be a couple of openings. This is Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to have some fun. If Mike McCarthy can't reach the NFC title game, the guy roaming the sidelines for the Dallas Cowboys next year, it ain't going to be Bill Belichick because Jerry wants to be the star. The next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys is roaming the sidelines in Boulder, Colorado. It's going to be prime time. Deion Sanders is going to be the coach of the Cowboys next year.
With what? The same guarantees that got Bronny James to the NBA?
Listen, listen. My goal this whole off season was if McCarthy and Dak are out, if they don't get to the NFC title game, it's Deion and Shadur in Dallas. That was
Well,
my thought process all off season.
I'm not going to say Deion Sanders isn't a talented athlete. I just don't see him as a head coach, and I'm sorry to him. I am still a diehard number 21 fan. But this whole thing to me, and I said it already, I'm going to say it one more time, reminds me of how Bronny James got to the NBA. I watched what Bronny James did in the the summer league games. It was horrible. I'm sorry. I don't want to see nepotism.
You're telling me nepotism doesn't exist?
No, 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 no. I say nepotism well exists. I just don't want to see it. If Bronny James was that good, he wouldn't have needed his father's help to get to the NBA.
Listen, that's a whole nother conversation.
Dan, I know you're listening, so we'll discuss that.
All right, so the show Dak now becomes the first $60 million quarterback, first $60 million man, and he probably plays a guy he you know helped him think of the deal because Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed deal from the Browns. And listen, I don't think there is a player with more pressure on them this year than Deshaun Watson. I say that for this reason. We saw what Joe Flacco did with this team last year. He led Cleveland to the playoffs. If Deshaun Watson does not regain that Houston Texan form or look anything similar to that, we're going to have to start having a conversation on if Cleveland made the right move. Because right now, it is not pretty.
The Cleveland Browns are at home, which is a good advantage because I'm sorry, one of the most loyal fan bases is that dog. Okay, it really is. They get loud, not as loud as Seattle, not as loud as Philadelphia, but they're there. Dak Prescott just signed. There's no more worrying about, oh shit, if I throw an interception, I'm not going to get my deal. Go out and play. Like Mike said, become that kid back on. Go out, throw it 60 times. No, no, let's not do that. Go out and throw it, but just have fun doing it. Here's how Dallas wins this game today. Number one, you just got to get Deshaun Watson out of the pocket. If he's anything of anything, he's one of the best pocket passers I've watched in a long time. But he might not have gotten his massage today, so that might keep him a little limp. But yes,
So this is from Spo Track, and they track all the contracts. Dak Prescott's $231 million in guaranteed money makes him the highest paid by $1 million over Deshaun Watson. So that's why the 231 is guaranteed.
got it. Well, that answers that. I don't believe I didn't think of that. Dallas has to get Deshaun Watson out of the pocket. Mike made a good point in an article that I wrote, and I'm glad he added it because I did not. And you can check those articles out on the website at www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. It's the Trayvon Diggs Amari Cooper matchup. Do we know Cooper's aged a little, but had a nice season last year. Diggs is coming back from that horrible ACL injury. That's your matchup of the day. I am excited for a couple of reasons. One, I finally got to wear my Zeke Elliott jersey that I paid $180 for again. Oh no.
No, no, just finish
Oh,
up, and then
okay.
we got
Got it.
actives, inactives.
Okay. Zeke is there. Rico Dowdle is there. Cooks, Tolbert, and I'm guaranteeing you Tolbert is going to look like Ninjigba this year, have those type of numbers. Dallas goes in and wins, not by a blowout, 24-14. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Dallas wins this game as well. Also, we get to hear Tom Brady during this game. So,
Oh,
actives, inactives. Cincinnati Bengal receiver T. Higgins, inactive, not playing. No T. Higgins today. Jamar Chase and his contractitis, active, will play.
I
Justin
can't. That I just can't see him not playing. That's all.
Justin Fields is going to start for the Steelers. Let's see what else I got here. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey both active for the Dolphins. So they're both going to play. Let's see. Is there
Who was
anyone
the
else
guy
you want
who?
to know?
I'm sorry. Who was the guy who interrupted? Tried to de-escalate what Miami player?
Calais Campbell.
Calais Campbell did his job and is getting Tyreek to the stadium on time.
Listen, Calais Campbell, who went to the U, by the way, I will say this. How Campbell's soup never made him a spokesperson over Donovan McNabb, I'll never know. But all right, just to finish this off, we've got three other games we'll go through. Actually, two of them we might go a little bit deeper on than one. We got the Commanders in game one of the Dan Quinn era taking on the Bucks. We brought up Baker earlier.
I'm excited to see Jaden McDaniels today.
I'm excited about Washington too. I'm not giddy on them, but they're kind of that team that I think people are sleeping on that could be okay, pretty good. I like the Dan Quinn hire.
I didn't because it took him out of
No,
Dallas,
no,
but
but that's not why I like it. I like it because he's an experienced guy, and he did a really good job in Atlanta. As much as I gave him crap for some of the stuff he did in Atlanta, I just think the Falcons held on for too long. But I think this team, it's young. We hope they have their franchise quarterback in Jane Daniels. They were very aggressive during the offseason. New ownership.
Thank
People are
God.
talking. People want them to bring back the name Redskins,
Please.
but and on the other side you got the Bucks, who listen. The NFC South is up for grabs for anyone not named the Panthers. Cheers, my friend David Tapper.
Let me tell
But
you.
can Baker do it
Okay.
again?
I see that's the key. If Baker goes off for 4 touchdowns today, let's remember the defense they're going up against. Yes, it's Dan Quinn's defense, and Dan Quinn did a hell of a job with the secondary in Dallas. Not going to say he did it. So, you have to be a little bit wary when throwing when Dan Quinn is on the other side of the field. I don't see Washington winning this game, but I don't see them getting blown out either. With the ads of Austin Eckler, you have Scary Terry. I don't know why you trade Johan Dotson. And then to me, that says you have no faith in this club. But I think Washington will keep it close, but just not close enough.
So, and also official Russell Wilson inactive, Justin Fields starts.
Right.
And apparently, Kendrick Lamar is going to be your Super Bowl halftime performer.
Whoopee!
Which means my dreams of Weird Al
We even
just
just yours. You and about a lot of Americans.
listen. I've been saying it for years. DeAndre Hopkins also active for the Titans today against the Bears.
And that's going to be your possible fun hookup today.
Oh, that's going to be a fun game.
It's going to be a very high scoring game. It's going to be a
Yeah.
run over game.
All right. So we
And
got
then
two
we
games
come down
left.
to 2 games left.
We got a rematch Sunday night, Rams Lions. If it's anything like the playoff game, buckle up because it's going to be a boatload of fun.
Just to let you know, the Sports Insanity Network has decided to go live for this game tonight. Mike's like, was anybody going to let me know? I just did.
I might not be there, so
It's okay, just letting you know.
but that should be a fun one. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua against a revamped Lion defense, and Jared Goff, who got his bag. Should be
Yeah.
a fun one on Sunday night.
And it could end up being more of a defensive game than an offensive game because it's not going to be a run over game. These two teams have two great offenses, but they got two good defenses also.
Also,
Even though
first
there's that hole where Aaron Donald used to be, but
first game in the Rams era without Aaron Donald in a long time.
mm-hmm.
Although I still think there's a part of me that still believes Aaron Donald's come back for the playoffs. It's a whole another conversation. Then Monday night, the prodigal son returns. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in 5 snaps this year on Monday Night Football instead of 4 when the Jets visit the 49ers.
I was coming home from dinner to get in. I'm going into the house. Oh, then I turn on the TV and I like, why isn't Aaron Rodgers in? I missed it by like 4 minutes. Here's the deal. I'm not going out to dinner this time. I want to see. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers. I don't care about him. I want to see Garrett Wilson, Michael Williams. I want to see Brees all have huge days. I want to showcase this Jet offense.
Garrett Wilson, big year in coming. If Rodgers stays healthy, Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall, they're going to be the beneficiaries. Mike Williams, I don't trust to stay healthy. Here's the thing.
We'll see how he does after the knee injury.
Here's the thing, and I've tried to explain this because you're like me. We watch ESPN, we have conversations, and all I hear from people is how the Jets are this big threat to the Chiefs. And I hope a certain angry Jet fan is listening to this show.
You mean the Sir Angry Jet fan?
No, I was talking about Dan.
Oh.
I'm not saying the Jets are a bad football team, Mark. I think they're very good, actually. I think they can win 10 games, maybe more. The one thing that I think holds the Jets back is the guy roaming around the sidelines.
You're talking about Robert Sala.
Robert Sala. Listen, he can take credit for his top 5 defense, but as an in-game coach, cue up the Mike Francesa. He stinks. He is terrible. Now, the good news for him is he got to keep his job because Aaron Rodgers wanted him to. The bad news, to quote the great Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, now, Robert Sala, you have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. It's playoffs or bust, my friend.
And it's pretty much also could be it for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, not to, throw shade at anything, but he's had his time. He got what he wanted. He got 2 more years and a chance. If he's ever had a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, this is it. The Jets defense is unequivocally good. They'll keep them in game as long as Aaron Rodgers is protected. And I don't trust that Tyron Smith, even though he's an ex-Cowboy, is going to be able to stay healthy
He
to
hasn't
have the
stayed
same
healthy in a
day
decade.
to be able to be there. So they're going to have to shore up that right side because Tyron Smith isn't the guy he was a decade ago, especially after 4 tricep surgery. So protecting Aaron Rodgers is the biggest key to this game. Now, on the other side, you got the 49ers. The Debo conversations, the Ayuk threat. Who cares? The team is together. You got McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. And I'll say, on the defensive side, you got Warner running around. You got a guy named Bosa. No, Bosa gone. No, you got a guy named Bosa. Wrong
They
Bosa.
got
The other rebel.
Bosa.
Yeah, the other Bosa. Sorry. My bad. The defense is there. You want to know who I don't trust in San Francisco? Is Brock Purdy. I don't like him as a quarterback, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he's San Francisco. It has to do with his style of throwing the ball with too much loft. That ball hangs there at times. And yes, a lot of those passes went for touchdowns, but I just don't like the guy.
You brought up the guy to me who's the ultimate X factor in that game tomorrow night, Debo. And I say Debo for this reason. Ayuk, they've already kind of said he's kind of going to be on a snap count because he missed so much time. McCaffrey, he's dealing with a calf issue, so
Right.
he's a game time decision. Hopefully, he plays for one of my team's sake. But how they utilize Debo out of the backfield, outside, inside, make the Jets corners guess on where Debo Samuel's going to be. That's going to be an ultimate game plan play, too. Now, you don't trust Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy, for 2-year starter and being Mr. Irrelevant, he's pretty good. Now, but here's the thing, and this is the weirdest thing that I've been thinking about since it was shown on the schedule. The 49ers are at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
49ers lost the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Is it weird for me to say that there's more pressure on the New York Jets than there is the San Francisco 49ers?
Of course. I don't disagree with that. The Jets are going to come into an angry stadium, kind of. Yeah, the fans are going to be cheering. And when I say angry, was they were that close to grabbing the brass ring to hold that Super Bowl trophy up. It depends on what the Niner fans say and do. Are they going to cheer this team or are they going to boo Ayuk when he comes down the field because he held out, full blown as he did?
Hey, he
I
got
think it
his
comes
back.
down to the crowd. But the Jets need to take every advantage they can get and get points on the board, whether it's 3 or 7 on every drive, because San Francisco isn't going to go quiet into the night.
Yeah, so that'll do it for week 1. For this edition of the Sunday Sideline Report. Everyone, enjoy week 1 of the NFL season. Before we go, though, just want to shout out our friend Rudy Campos and Sweep the League. You check them out on their YouTube every day, every
Yeah.
weekday, correct?
Every weekday, Monday through Friday, 10 p.m., 9 Central. Okay. Also, when you go in there, listen to Mr. Derek Gervin, Hall of Famer, when they do their basketball and football. Great man to sit and do a podcast with. So big shout out to Derek as well.
All right. For us, socials, we're on Facebook Sports Insanity Network, Twitter handle, S Insanity Real. Go to their website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Listen to the podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. And until next week, the old ops guy, I'm Mike Rifkin. We'll talk to you all next week here on the Sunday Sideline Report. And remember, fins up.
Catch you on the flip side.